episode 5. This one's called Close to the Finish Line. So the overview, I'm going to try and keep the credit and platform ones a bit more brief because I don't want to repeat what's said on the other slides and steal the thunder away. But eventually on the credit side, we're getting really close to the alpha launch, which is only limited to the team and is meant to focus on the technical feasibility. The second major item is we're developing our risk frameworks to measure the success of our risk engine. And we're taking a careful, measured approach here, but we believe it's the right long-term decision ultimately, because the success and robustness of our risk engine will make sure that we can survive time in market, especially given these are the most volatile markets in the world. So once we know how we can measure success of that, we can then iterate on it and get clinically better at it. And once we finish off credit, that will free up a bunch of resources so that we can work on the platform side where we're getting more pull and there's a more dire need. So that's kind of the summary of credit. The key milestones is launching the alpha on mainnet, not testnet. I think we're already on testnet. So cross that bridge a while ago. In terms of the platform, we made rapid progress on the new API and developer documentation that Kyle will touch on more. We've got on the sales side, we've got 2 high value opportunities that we're actively working on. And then from a product marketing positioning, we're figuring out how we communicate and sell the platform more effectively. And also just thinking through the narrative for ARCx. If you go through our blog right now, it's a bit confusing as to what we do or kind of how we're thinking about things. So one exercise that we're going to probably do is probably nuking the blog and then restarting or segmenting it so that if you're someone new, you can understand our journey, you can understand in a few articles what we're doing, why we're doing it, and where we're going. So revamping that narrative, once we can articulate that clearly, we can then articulate that outwards and have other people articulate that us as well. And the other really cool thing was we got some early results of our work with one of our partners that was really exciting to see and is validation that the technology we have to kind of target specific users, the results show like mathematically. So really excited to see that that product's coming to life. The key milestone platform, now that we've got a few integrations, is getting that first dollar in revenue. So that's where we're all rowing to thematically. In terms of the overview, so shout out to Kale over the weekend helping me get set up with the Titan repo. We're not fully there, but we're very close. And then Gabe, Kyle, Stuart, and Kale for doing push over the weekend to tie the remaining pieces of credit together. So when you're integrating the back end, the contract, the front end, there's like 1,000 different configs you have to get right. So and it's almost like a key lock with the spinny dials, and like one person can only do one dial at a time, and until all the dials are aligned, you can't unlock the lock. So great work for getting that over the line, team. And then challenges are just making sure people aren't context switching and we're communicating priorities clearly and being very deliberate of what we're working on and when. So we've made some process upgrades that I'm sure will be covered later in this presentation. And it's just getting really comfortable with the team size we have because we can do anything we need right now. So it's just making sure we're not getting distracted and being very measured and focused with the approach that we take. And that's it on my side. I'll pass over to Gabe on the engineering piece.
All right, thanks, Kerman. So last week on engineering, there has been lots of backend work and front-end work equally. So on the backend side, we are working on a new API structure that is much clearer for the to use on the public and more efficient as well. So we're calling that V1. Kerman, we can see your screen. Can we go back to the slides? All right, thanks. Cool. Also, there have been some solid improvements on the backend, just in general, and on Discord bot as well. So we have progress on both fronts, and we really did everything. Like we really tried hard to push Barrow Alpha last week, But like Kyle said, damn it, like Kermit said, we have like you're blocked by these gates that like only a few people can unlock, and you can't expect people necessarily to work over the weekend, except if you really are available. But it's not an expectation, so we did everything we can. But now we're in a position to definitely do that this week. So we deployed the Polygon contracts last week, and we finished all the front end, like I'd say product work on Borrow Alpha. So that's coming up this week. Just transitioning to this week. So like I said, kick off Alpha definitely this week, and also finish off the documentation for the public endpoints. They're mostly done now, and just we have to do some small adjustments and make it a documentation webpage that we're going to share with everyone. And also on the front end side of things, we're working on the supply page. So we have the borrow side, and for the testing, we're going to interact manually with the contract, but the supply page is coming up as well to allow you to lend your stable coins. And also we want to improve our testing infrastructure on the front end, because just to be more reliable in the future, as we have we're reaching a milestone now. It's a good timing to invest in testing. So, in improving the testing. So challenges, we have many projects now. We just gotta make sure that we don't spread ourselves too thin. And finally, shout out to Stuart and Kale for helping us push the needle for Borrow over the weekend. It's really good to see it. Like, I really like it when the ball is in our court on the website. So the challenge is on, and let's get this through. That's it for me. I'll pass it on to the Titans.
Oh, GM. Alrighty. A bit of a leaner update this week. We're doing a lot of things that are very kind of like technical debt orientated, and refactoring things and cleaning things up, closing off projects. So that's really the theme of this update, is that last week was really continued work on Casio. So we're looking like we're about a couple weeks away from finally switching that on, deprecating our old system, which is super exciting. It's been a big project, and it's going to help us scale scores massively and hopefully cut our costs in half too, which would be nice. One other big thing that happened last week was we did a case study on the Juicebox airdrop. So in case anyone's not aware, we had partnered with Juicebox and helped them with their airdrop. And I went away and kind of did a bit of research there, and some very sexy findings. Results to be released soon. I needed to double check my numbers, compile everything, put it together into a post. But it's like, so at the moment, it's looking really, really promising. So a bit of leaked alpha there. Other things that happened last week was a lot of strategic work. So Liam and Kermit have been really ramping up a lot of their integration discussions with people. And I've just been hopping in and helping out from a scoring perspective. How do we kind of facilitate that? How do we implement process around that and just make it a lot more streamlined, so then it's easy for engineers to kind of hop into that process and work with it, rather than just being a little bit more chaotic. So for this week, it is basically launching Casio, so it's in parallel with our current engine to check for stability, and then releasing our first set of risk models for the beta borrow product. So we've done the risk models for the alpha, and we're happy with those, but now it's kickstarting the beta risk modeling. So that's really, really important. Big shout out. So the shout outs this week for me are Kyle, Gabe, Stewart. All three of them had hopped over from across the world to come to Sydney to hang out with Sydney people. So thank you very much. Actually, for any astute watchers, you might notice that Gabe's background looks very similar to Kerman's background typically, and Kerman's is a brand new background. So they've been hanging out, they've been surfing couches for the last few weeks. So big shout out to them for dealing with us. Challenges. So the biggest challenges that I'm seeing at the moment is this last 5%. It's always really hard to estimate it and close it out. So just getting a little bit better at how do we close out those last 5%. And then generally within Titan itself, we're slowly getting used to the new engineering product management process. We're a little bit slower than the web guys when it comes to process, because I am traditionally a cowboy when it comes to work. So I'm terrible at implementing it within the squad. So we're a little bit slower, but we're getting there slowly and surely. That's it for me. To Liam. To Liam.
Sorry, GM. I was just getting this fancy background up and running because I'm a man of priorities. Yes. All
Kermit,
right. So, Kermit, if you can toggle the slides. Thank you. So, I mean, last week, thematically, two key opportunities moved forward, which is really exciting. And we also discovered a new partnership integration. So, understanding the difference between a customer opportunity and an integration is something we're figuring out. It's a bit of a different vibe, but really happy that those progressed. We also changed up the way that we look at all of our deals. So we're taking sort of a customer-centric approach to each engagement as opposed to like looking at the process. So that's just sort of some internal things. This week, it's really focusing on proposal writing. So what we've learned is that there's about 3 docs that are of effort that need to be drafted up before we acquire a customer, and also subsequent work that's done there. So each deal requires an initial proposal, a work plan, and then there's several drafts, but then there's also a technical specification that Kale helps with as well. So, really it's just about understanding when the next meetings are with the customers, making sure that everything's prepped in advance, they have everything that they need, that it's well communicated ahead of time. So more and more as things come through the funnel, it's like just finding time to make sure that all of that pre-work is done, everything's on track, and everything's ahead of schedule. So there's that opportunity to do more outbound, do more prospecting, things like that. So I wanted to shout out Kale and Kerman. So this is sort of a bit of an aside thing, but they're challenging me to get a little bit more on the tools. So to understand how, the data world works. And I was very like, oh no, it's a waste of time. I don't want to learn this thing. But then I actually sort of capitulated into it, and it was actually a really positive thing. So I just wanted to shout out Kale and Kerman. Kale, you would be really impressed actually, just as an aside. I got Pandas going with, which is I've learned is essentially just Excel without an interface.
Yeah.
And I even used matplotlib, believe it or not, on some data frame transformations last night to actually visualize the people who died on the Titan. So I will share a Python notebook with you once it's back up and running. How does that sound? There you go.
I'm already impressed, and I'll start assigning you your first engineering tickets tomorrow, Liam.
And what a mistake I've made. But no, looking forward to it, Kale. Looking forward to it. Please just, @mention me and I'll smash some tickets for you. So yeah, challenges on my end is time management, is a bit of a confession, and that I've realized. So just making sure that as the number of deals in the pipe increase, I'm consciously carving out dedicated time in my calendar to focus on prep for different customers, so I'm not rushing, and that everything's getting done front loaded. So then I've got white space for more growth as well. And then obviously the skills development stuff, just learning how the data world works so that I can better communicate in what's becoming a really rich cross-functional team. So that's everything from me this week. I will pass over to Hugh.
Hey everybody. So in product and growth, the main kind of things off the back of the big sort of synchronous working sessions that we had last week were finalizing the credit beta designs and spec, and refining the backlog for credit itself, and then supporting with the R&D roadmap, which is our risk team's prioritization of what to work on. And all of this comes off of mainly kind of figuring out what are our riskiest assumptions that we're most concerned about and have the highest impact, and where do we think our bets should be placed in a sequence. So that's kind of on the product side. And on the growth side, We have a new graphic designer who's done some amazing work creating some videos. So I worked with him to get those created, and this week we're going to be like refining that. And so, what this means is that, going forward from our marketing perspective, it's going to look much more slick, much more professional. And this will kind of dovetail into what Kermit mentioned around updating our Substack and getting it clean and very clear. So yeah, that was on growth. Also, I'm spending a lot of time now, as we've spent countless conversations now, it feels like over the last few weeks, talking to customers on the platform side. Really just spending time to like articulate what is platform, how is it distinct from the remainder of the business, and this is formulating into an article that will go out ideally this week, if not early next week. And so that's kind of like at a 60% version. The aim is to finish it out this week. And then also supported the sales team on some proposals and work plans for platform as well. This week, Credit Alpha internal product launch, I think, is the main big milestone that the whole team is kind of working toward. And looking ahead to platform, like what are we going to build and when? And this is kind of like more in discovery, but we've got enough insights now to have like a strong point of view. So I think it's a really good opportunity to like start putting some hypotheses forward and then actively de-risking them. And then on growth, as I mentioned, publish that article and refine those marketing videos with our graphic designer. So no challenges this week from me, and just a quick shout out to the Canadians who've come, and also the Western Australian who came as well to Sydney, and it's been awesome to meet everyone. And it's awesome. I really want to meet everyone else now on the team who live in Europe and elsewhere. So that's it from me.
Sweet. And then the other bit I'll put on Q&A. Big shout out to Corey for the relentless praying, and the streaks are increasing. So amen. And then also Kenji for the amens and the prayers going on. So that's really cool to see. So let's keep it up and see how long we can get the streak going. Who knows? Maybe there's a prayer score. Maybe there isn't, but all the data exists and there's algorithms that we can make. So proof of work. But anyway, that's about it. Goodbye, GM, and catch you all soon.
GM.
GM.